I was actually quite surprised how easy it was to agree on the new name. I thought there'd be a long discussion and there might be some difficulty. And being chairman of the trustees, I thought I might have to manage that. In fact, it was agreed fairly easily. And the reasons behind it are simply that every so often all organisations review the names, all charities do, I think, and try to make them more modern, up to date and meaningful as well. And there's a big problem with the word Whitley that no one quite knows what it's linked to anymore. And of course the Whitley family has two branches. There is a separate Whitley Fund, Whitley Wildlife Fund, from another branch of Herbert Whitley's family, which is slightly confusing for people. And I've always found that people, if I say I chair the Whitley Wildlife Conservation Trust, they look slightly blank until I said which owns Paignton Zoo, and that helps people to understand where it fits. So I think part of the reason for having to change or wanting to change was that we needed to have a name which was perhaps more in keeping with modern times and not perhaps quite so closely linked to the place, because it was Herbert Whitley whose family owned this plot of land that we're sitting on at the moment, and that's why he set up the trust. He had the land, he had the animals, and he wanted it to be kept for posterity. And while we want to remember that link, and we certainly won't forget it, we also need to think about attracting new people. So the new name is a little bit catchier, easier to remember. It also says very much what we're doing, and it's important to emphasise the global nature of what the Trust does. So it's simple, it's catchy, it's fairly easy to remember, I've discovered, and the Wild Planet Trust was agreed very quickly by the members of the trustees. We did actually ask whether people who were younger than us on the whole, whether it was a good idea, and it was tested with people around the country to see whether they thought it was a good idea to use that name, and it meant something to people. They understood what we were about, and it seems to be the way to go, to use words which are more understandable to or meaningful to younger people, and that's how we ended up with this name. That doesn't mean to say that we want to put aside all that we've done before and forget about it. Herbert Whitley, he was a pioneer. He was alongside Gerald Durrell, who everybody knows about. He didn't write as many books as Gerald Durrell. I think that may be partly why he's less well known, but he was a contemporary. They knew each other, and other people involved in conservation back in those days, back in the 40s, 50s, were all part of a group of people, just as zoo directors are today. They knew each other, and they were the pioneers.